afternoon and maybe good morning to some people. So today's session is a very interesting and different one. I I know we usually have guests, who have topics prepared, but for today it's a slightly different approach we are taking because of two things that are happening together. The original guest for today cancelled, or well, we could say cancelled because she was not responding anymore. So that's the equivalent of cancelled. I just hope all is well with her. And then the second thing is we've done a lot of sessions and we have a lot of times people ask in the sessions, in the classes, oh, they are new. How can they keep learning these things or what have they missed? So I decided that today we are going to do a proper walkthrough of how you can make the most of these sessions will be the right word. So the number one thing is that, let me just put these. So I'm going to share a lot of links. I'm going to show you how, if you want to make the most of this platform, the way to go about it. We have three places where you will see our resources being already, let me say, housed. Okay. So number one is that the meetup is the umbrella group. That's the main group. So I'm going to go there and show you and share also the link. So this is the main group. When people ask, oh, can you give me the link? What's the WhatsApp number or WhatsApp group or Telegram group? We don't have a Telegram group. We don't have a WhatsApp group. We used to have, but as long as this community is concerned, as far as this community is concerned, there is one platform where everything is meant to be updated in, and that's where you go to, and you should not, miss any activity or be, lost as to what is happening next. So that platform, that one place where everything is housed is this meetup group. I'm going to share the link. So if you are not a member, I will advise that you join so that way you don't miss out. You don't miss out in three ways. One is that you go there instantly and you see the sessions that are planned. Right now, this is the session that is holding. Okay. And this is the one that will happen tomorrow. No, next week. So you see, this is the place you go that we keep all the details. That takes me now to the second major resource platform. Okay. So I'm going to just click on read more. You see this link, this one. All previous sessions, they are always saved on our YouTube channel. So that's the second place. If you come here, you will see everything, but just so that you understand even how you are meant to use all the tools. Number one is this is where you should be a member of, and maybe you install the Meetup app so that way you get notifications every time that a session is about to hold. So it makes it easy. You don't have to be the one trying to mentally remember or wait for some other external reminders for you to be aware of the session and know whether you want to attend or not. So this is the one place you should go to, you should join, and that way you will always be in the loop of all that is happening. Okay. Then the second place is the YouTube. I've shared the link, so I'm going to take you there. Unfortunately, when you go there, it starts playing, you so I think I probably we need to find a setting to adjust because this is what I have shared, this office hour, this is the link. But unfortunately, maybe I will update it to this. This shows nicer because this is the real link that we want to share. Okay. So I'm going to just reshare and maybe replace. That's the very same link I shared. It's the same link. Oh, okay, it's different. I see. Okay. I can still use this. I'm going to also go update it here because that other one immediately starts to play and it might make it look as if that's the only video that is there, whereas it is meant to be a playlist where you see all the 200 plus videos. So, okay. Add a video about your group. Okay. I think once I do this, that's all that needs to be updated. So I carry on. This is I've updated the link, so you can ignore the first one. Let me see if I can edit what I sent before. Edit. Oh, that's nice. I can edit it. So I'm going to just remove this and paste this and save. Okay, so here is where you access the recording of all the sessions. This is where, if you have missed a lot of sessions or you came into a session late and you see that there's a lot of interesting things that have been said and you are just at a loss as to, what it is you've missed, and you want to watch the entire recording, you want to watch from start to end, this is where you come to, and then you're able to scroll through all the sessions and you can cherry pick what you want to catch up on. So you'll notice that there are a whole lot of sessions that I've held up until now. And I need to tell my colleague we need to number them. So this one should have been numbered, and this we will do that. Okay, so we try to keep a numbering pattern to make it easy to spot to make you spot the sessions differently. So we've been swamped and short staffed for like 1 month. So one person will be joining us this month by tomorrow, and hopefully, we'll be able to they'll be able to help us with some of the things that are beginning to not be done. So this is the second platform where you want to go and subscribe. Where do you hit the subscribe button? I know when you go there, for you, probably you see a subscribe button, because I won't see opening with the admin account. So I guess for me, since I'm the admin here, it's not going to show me a subscribe, but for you, you should be able to see a subscribe button, and that way you will always be notified of new content. It will be easy to find, sessions that you missed that you find interesting. So this is the second resource that I, want you to be aware of. So now, what's the third resource? Okay, if you go back here, it's easy, but it's also funny that most people sometimes don't realize. I've heard people message me and say, "Oh, can you give me the link? Can you give me the meeting link?" So we've made things really easy. Even if you just set up, if you set up a reminder on your PC or on your phone and say every Sunday at 4 p.m. Nigerian time, you want to be able to. Okay, someone is requesting for control. Guess that's an error. Okay, so if you say, oh, you want to just set up a reminder on your device, computer, calendar, to remind you to join the meeting via this link every Sunday 4 p.m. That's also enough. You will always be able to click on this link 4 p.m. on Sundays, and you'll directly be in this session. We try to make things easy for ourselves. So instead of using those very long Teams link, like when I show you the link to this particular meeting that we are having right now, let me just go straight to it. It's a very long link. That's what Teams does. All of them do it. Just that Teams is more notorious. Zoom also sends a very long. Look at the link. And this link, okay, for us is the same, but it's not easy to. In fact, if you're going to copy and paste this, you'll be afraid you might be missing some parts, right? So what we have done is, rather than use this really long, difficult to work with link, we've created a very memorably, easy to remember link. You can bookmark it, you can have it somewhere, and you always click on it, and at 4 p.m. on Sundays it brings you straight into this session. So that's the third resource. Then some of the sessions we have had, the presenters have probably shared resources, maybe their slides. So what we try to do is, on the video, let me see if I can find one of them. But the thing is, on the video, let's see, I can't remember if any recent session where the presenter, but when you go on the video, we try to attach the resource. I'm going to stop the play. No, it's going to play automatically. So we try to attach the video, so this person didn't share his slide, but if he had shared his slide, the pattern I told my team is, let's include it in the video description. So that way it is easy for anyone to just go back to that video and also be able to access the resource. Okay, so that's the 3 places where you will be able to keep abreast of all that what we are doing, of all the sessions we are running. Then now, as regards the sessions themselves, so I'm going to go here. All our past sessions are accessible here. If you have any question, you can type, you can raise your hand, and I will answer. Accessible. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual past sessions. Okay, last week we had Samuel Taiwo take us on advanced feature engineering in Python. I know not everybody will be interested in Python, but I do tell people, I say, as long as you are in this field or you have strong interest in the data analysis field, right? Try to be aware of everything. Not that you should try to know everything or be an expert in everything, but have some passing knowledge about what is happening in the domain of Python for data analysis, happening in different. That's why when speakers, we get presenters who tell us, oh, what they really want to speak about is not Excel, and they look at our group and it looks like the name. When you look at the name, it says Microsoft Excel and data analysis. I have to tell them that that's the reason it's called data analysis, not just Microsoft Excel was the original reason we all came together. It's like a big cornerstone that is the thing that has brought a lot of us in this group together. But data analysis domain is expanding beyond just a tool. So if someone is wanting to be well-rounded in data analysis, he needs to also be aware of all the tools that exist there and analysis patterns. You need to be aware of things that is beyond the tool. Like for instance now, feature engineering is something that can be done not just in Python, it can be done in all um predictive data analysis tools. Okay, so that thing itself is something that whoever is going to explain it, even though he's explaining in Python, he will need to explain that. So that knowledge is a knowledge that transfers to you. At a point, some of us used to do predictive analytics within Excel, but if you try to do that now, people are going to laugh at you because it's not supposed to be done that way anymore. But the truth is, the knowledge that I had at the start as regards predictive analytics, let me see if I can show you my Kindle. There were books that I bought that were originally in Excel. Because if you want to start out on a journey, if you're going from Lagos to Abuja, you're going to start from the front of your house. You're going to start from where you are. You're not going to be like, oh, I know that I should be on the express. But if your house, you need to pass through a lot of streets before you get out on the express. You have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to make things more difficult for yourself if you just want to be on the express straight away. So the same thing, whenever I'm learning something new, I look at what I already know and I look at, okay, how can I begin to marry the two, what I know with what I want to know. So back to why I'm even bringing you here. If I go here and I click on, let's say I search for Excel. If you look at my Excel books, you see predictive analytics. There's one more. You see decision analytics, statistics. These are Excel books. This is by the same author anyway, but they are all Excel books. I bought this maybe uh really long ago, probably 7 years ago. But the point I want to bring out is the fact that let me go to the cover page. I started my own predictive analytics with what I already know, which is Excel. Now I will not do predictive analytics within Excel, but all the theories, things about logistics regression, time series, uh, PCA, principal component analysis, these were things that when the person was explaining them using Excel, I could relate with. I can instantly practice it. I'm not struggling with two things. I'm not struggling with the concept and the tool. So back to what I'm trying to say is always try to be part of even the sessions that you think you don't see yourself using the tool. It's not because of the tool, it's because of the awareness so that you'll be aware of the technology and maybe modern approach to doing things. Okay. And before The session before that was by Governor Ajanaku, and he took us on, yeah, the standard Excel. So he decided to talk more about best practices in Excel, techniques for your report creation. Temidayo did different security setup within Microsoft BI. So this also was not Excel. I think he even did Power BI mostly throughout the session. Then we had someone from the NumPy Foundation, if I'm allowed to call it that way, but an official with the NumPy entity, and she took us on contributing to NumPy, a roadmap for newcomers. For me, what I took away from it is that I can easily contribute to any project that I'm interested in without essentially being a technical person. I don't have to be a C sharp or a core developer for me to contribute to something that is open source, that maybe relies on some core programming. I can contribute at a level of the I can contribute at the level of documentation. I can contribute at the level of, even for her, she started contributing at the level of just helping them with some graphic I think it was website or something that was nothing related to NumPy itself. So that was something that for me, I took away from that session. And then the session before that, we had a company, the founders of what's even the name of the company? I keep forgetting. But they showed us how their tool allows you to do, collaboration on notepads, typical Python notepads, and an AI enhanced. So for me, this was just new. It wasn't really like I could apply what they talked about. But for me, it was that awareness, seeing all the tools that are available in the industry. So I learned from here. Then the session before that was on logistics report in Power BI. So again, this was the Power BI session within Excel. Within, I like not to, maybe we might change the name from Excel one someday, but these are things you should be aware of. So he decided to do a demo from start to end of how you build a report, and the sample he picked was a logistics company. Then the session before that, I decided to show us the difference between Excel and Power BI, how you know which one to go for different scenarios. So it was more a focus on this takeaway that I think I remember mentioning is you should know both. Right now, you don't want to be the person who says, "Oh, I'm just an all Excel person. I'm not interested in Power BI," and you don't want to be the person who says, "Oh, Power Excel is an old tool. It's not something that is relevant, and you don't want to be our you don't want to know how to use it." Uh, that will be setting a trap for yourself, because there will be things you need to do that it will be Excel that will be the easiest way to achieve it. And sometimes you will get data sets that you will need to, that will be Excel data sets. And if there are problems there, the problems will be problems that will flow into your own BI work. And, it might be embarrassing if the problem was actually something trivial, but just because you have no knowledge of Excel or adequate knowledge of Excel, you made it look like it was a big deal. And then, the whole project stalled, or your reporting was not functioning properly. So you want to be aware of both. Then the session before that was on data ingestion series. So the speaker took us through the different kinds of data you can ingest into Excel, and how to set up connection to bring in data from external sources. And the session before that was on pivot table. So pivot table is one tool that is at the cornerstone of any advanced analytics, any company-wide reporting you will do with Excel, because any company that has transactions running into thousands, maybe monthly or weekly, and you are to create monthly or weekly reports, you can't really, I don't think it's possible to do those type of reports, consistently, and not have to use pivot table. So pivot table is one tool that people who are probably going to do interviews, and they will give them some demo data, maybe 20 minutes, and some questions where you're supposed to analyze the data to answer the question. A lot of times it's pivot table you need to use, otherwise that 20 minutes will be gone. and you'll still be struggling with question one, because they are not testing you for really how you can answer the question. Is how you can take insights out of the data using, since you claim you know Excel, then use the Excel tools to in 20 minutes work on a data that has 200,000 rows or 50,000 rows and answer business questions. I've seen it happen for people applying for Bolt job. When I say Bolt, Bolt used to hire operations manager almost every, I don't know. Well, I was seeing a lot of people applying for it, and I came across some of the data they used for them, and that was it. Similarly to for Uber, for some job roles, they figured out that rather than asking people, "Do you know Excel? Rate your skills," they would rather just give you a task that mirrors the kind of things they need you to do in day out. And that way, that they will get the true answer, whether you really know it or not, to surface from how you answer the question. Then Crispo is an amazing guy. He took us on data validation, how you can use it to improve your reporting process, gathering data from people, putting error checks, and essentially what validations do. Then before that, we had Sebangawa take us through. So I think he's from Uganda, because I remember I was asking how come his name has some French or something. Then he was explaining how maybe it was either Uganda or Rwanda used to be a French speaking country. But the key thing was he too took us on modern day analytics, processes. Okay, so you might want to watch it. Then Chidi uh, took us on Office scripts before that. I don't know if you are familiar with Office script. Let me show you what Office script is. So what is happening right now is that Microsoft is trying to discourage people from using VBA. We all know macros, Let me go to developer. So you see this VBA, this all of this code VBA stuff. Microsoft is trying to discourage people, companies, the data analysts from using VBA, primarily because of the security concerns. With VBA, you can run codes that are beyond just Excel, and you can do a whole lot of malicious things, which, well, that might not be your own intention, but what it means is that companies that are uh, cybersecurity aware, companies that have very strong security, data governance, and trying to ensure that they reduce risks. The first thing they do is they disable macro organizational wide. So what that means is if macro is what you know and you work for those companies, you will find out that your knowledge becomes useless. Why? Because the company has made a policy of disabling macros, and it's valid. There are a lot of security concern that comes with macros. So what that now means is you need to know something new. You need to know something that can do the same macro that you're trying to achieve. So what Microsoft is doing is they are swapping VBA, the usual macros we create, with a new tool, Office scripts. Let me see if I can show you the official documentation. So what are Office scripts? They are JavaScript based. At that point, I started learning JavaScript because I'm like, oh, this is now serious. It's like there's JavaScript everywhere. Uh, let's see. I want to open the official Microsoft documentation. This is not the one I'm looking for. So I'm just going to go on my web and Office scripts. Okay. So what are Office scripts? You will even see that I typed Office script. Office script in Excel came out, came up first. There's Office script across the whole Microsoft Office suite. So, it's in Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and I think Outlook. I'm not so certain about Outlook, but I think so because that's why it's called Office scripts, and it's completely to replace VBA. So the way it works is you will let me see if I can show you an example. So all of what we used to do, with VBA, all these get range, in our own case, you just be like sheet dot range A1 to F1. So all those same things is what they are now here. But the advantages these have is the very same advantage you get with when you install on your phone, on your Android or your iPhone, you install apps directly from the App Store. You know that advantage that they have scanned it, they've checked it that there are no malicious content in it. And if someone complains about it, it can be removed, right? But more importantly is the fact that they've kind of walled, what do I mean by walled? They've made sure that it cannot do anything that is outside of the Windows Office, and no, not even Windows, the Microsoft Office environment. In fact, for Excel one, I think the Excel one cannot even do anything outside of Excel. Whereas I've had to do macros in VBA with VBA that could, I've seen someone manipulate the files on your computer where you click on a macro and it will go and pick a file from a folder. Yeah, I do that steadily. I think I'm not so sure if we can be able to do that with Office Script, but the things where I'm running command line commands, that's the more important uh, delineator. The fact that with Office Scripts, you cannot do something that will be the equivalent of running a command line program. Whereas with VBA, you can execute command line. I can shut down a computer from just VBA, in Excel VBA, putting the equivalent of those commands there and they will run. Whereas from Office Script, you cannot. So they've separated all the areas that the Office Script can touch. They've limited it to just within the Microsoft Office suite of products, let me use it that way. It cannot go and do anything that will be, reaching into the file system or trying to run some command line scripts. So I would say if you are heavily into Microsoft Excel, you should check it out, be aware at least. Then later you can decide what your course of action will be. Do you want to learn it? But you should be aware. Don't be somewhere and people are talking about this and it looks as if that's the first time you are hearing about Office scripts. So back to so Chidi was showing us an example. If you want to watch that session, you can probably go again to our YouTube and scroll to the part that is for that, and you will see the recording. So I go back here. Then the session before that was by Eliel. Eliel took us through Power Automate. And most people think of Power Automate as just this. When they hear Power Automate, they think of, I'm logging into the Power Automate portal here, and that, I'm able to link maybe Dynamics to Excel or link cloud applications together, right? That's what they think of. But I want you to know that Power Automate is beyond that. There's also Power Automate that desktop, where you install it and it's able to do a whole lot. It can scrape data. It can, if you are familiar with Task Scheduler, which I use for some of my, I use it for some of my Python scripts and we call them BAT files, things that will automatically run at some point at some time of the day. So I have some scripts that are running at different times of the day based on things I need them to do that are populating some database for me. But that's, by the way, the important thing I want to mention is if you're familiar with Task Scheduler, this is now the task scheduler for a data analyst and a robotic process automation engineer, RPA. So if you're interested in RPA, robotic process automation, RPA, it has been long ago. You know how everything's begin to get new names. The same way where we used to have what was the we used to have data We used to have relational DB, and then suddenly, there's data warehouse and there's data lake. So I'm just saying these things have always been existing. It's just that maybe right now some names are suddenly becoming popular. So RPA has always been something existing for as long as I have been using, I've been working actively. There has always been these other tools I've been using. I used to pay for some of them. When I wrote my Kindle book, I used an RPA tool to always push it out, to across different publishers, do promotion. Back to what I'm trying to say. If you're interested in RPA, then you should have this desktop version of Power Automate. Try it out. Please give me just 20 seconds. I need to go take my daughter out from, she's crying on the chair. Please start. Okay. So I'm back. And so if you're interested in RPA, I will advise you to have this installed on your computer. Try it out. You can always follow the help link to get to Microsoft documentation and learn. In fact, learn is also there. And you can easily do some practice tasks, how you use the Power Automate desktop, how you do some common tasks, this is Outlook connector. There are some other connectors that are more popular, but the point I want to bring out is this is heavily used by organizations now. So you don't want to be completely blind to this and then you get into an environment and people are talking about it, or there is something the company wants to do and it will have been easier to achieve with Power Automate, but because you are not aware, other people are not aware, it's now a consultant who is now saying it, and your bosses start looking at you guys like, how come you don't know all of this? So you don't want that to be the case. Just be aware. That's what I would make to be the key thing for you here. And now Microsoft is including the ChatGPT, OpenAI, and all of that to everything, but it's going to play a big role in Power Automate, in Power Platform. I'm in some communities where they keep telling us, and it's going to play more role in all these automation focused tools more than even Power BI. So be aware of that. I move on. Go to okay, so Power Automate. Then Ibrahim took us some subqueries in SQL. Um, I had to, let me just show you some books on my table here. This year, I bought, I've bought some other books, but physical, like hard copy. So I bought this one, Dax Patterns. Maybe I shouldn't have, I don't know. I'm beginning to have second thoughts about this because everything is on the website. It's just, I'm just trying to keep abreast of some interesting use of DAX beyond my daily use. But these ones, I thought that's it's in the back of it. See these ones, SQL practice problems or books on SQL. And this, I had my first SQL certification. I got it in 2008. I got the Oracle 10G certification, and then it was a big deal. I think I was teaching people Oracle too that time. I was teaching people Cisco, CCNA, and Oracle then. I've been using SQL. That's the point I want to bring. I've been using SQL since 2007. At first, it was as practice for the exam, then later, maybe in helping people, then later on the job, I was using it in Access heavily. And then while I was building my own apps and all, I was also using SQL. So I've used it, if I'm going for a project interview or bidding and they're asking me, to defend to maybe mention if my skill level in SQL. I'm not going to struggle to convince them that I'm very good at using SQL. But the truth is, SQL is now so important that you don't want to have, apart from just having it on your CV, you want to have a very good working knowledge of it. You want to be able to apply it at the tip of your fingers. You want to be able to face a situation and just like spin off. So in the company I consult for, we use SSMS. Uh, the company my wife used to work for, I think they use DB Weaver. Am I getting the name correctly? DB Weaver. Okay, it's Deep Beaver. I keep mixing it up. Deep Beaver. So whatever the tool is, the SQL is a uniform. It's now almost standardized kind of. There are some minor differences, but most of the differences are at the admin side of things, but at the query side of things, they are the same. And the interesting thing is when you begin to transition into NoSQL kind of DBs, you know, so maybe you're on Google platform and you're using Google BigQuery, or you are on Microsoft platform and you're using the Costo-based Costo. I keep those words can be tongue twisting. Costo query language. They are essentially the SQL that you know, stripped down to, they might not have all the SQL clauses or admin side of it, but the query part is, very similar. I think you can say they are the same. So if you know SQL, you will be able to thrive in all types of DB based environment, be it a big data environment where they have created a new language to extract query. That's what Costo actually is, a big data environment language, and still is SQL. The same thing I mentioned about Google BigQuery. Google BigQuery too has its own SQL kind of language. So SQL is something you want to know very well, at least the query side. If you are not intending to be an admin, you don't need to worry too much about how you create tables, how you do replications, all the admin side of things. That's the good news now for us. We don't have to worry about that as a data analyst, but we need to be very good with the query end of it. And the queries are really easy because um, the the clauses we need to use, they are not so many. They are mostly, I tell you, there is like select, where, from, order by, group by, having. There are about maybe 6 or 7 things you just need to know, clauses you need to know how to use, and maybe when to use them. And, so back to, yeah, let me drag this away. Okay. So back to here, you might want to watch this session if you think maybe you want to see some expert walk you through SQL. Then ML, this is also another thing that was really not Excel per se, but again, you want to be aware of machine learning. Though nowadays it's becoming niche. What do I mean by niche based? We are lucky now that people, okay, so Ademola is asking, I'm new to this data model. This language is a new. Please understand my bad. So if you look at the title of this session, I'm just doing a review of all that we have done before. So I'm going to share this link for those who are just joining. So you'll be able to see it's a review of past sessions. So that's what we are going through, and you will find the video links. Video of past sessions. You'll find the video here. And one other thing that I share. Okay, then make sure you join the community. So join the community. All right, so that's what is happening. I'm just walking us through the past sessions that we've had. Okay, great. So ML is, I was mentioning that we are now really lucky at 4 years ago, I was really worried that I need to know predictive analytics. I need to know the old spread of data science, and that time data science and data engineering even looked intertwined. But nowadays, if you are someone coming from the Excel and Power BI, uh, that's where you've been operating in. I would say you don't need to worry too much about the data science, the predictive side of things, but you need to worry about data engineering. So what is happening right now is that people are expecting BI experts. If you call yourself a Power BI professional, companies are expecting you to be vast in data ingestion from all kinds of tools. Maybe they have data coming from, they have telemetric data coming in form of API streams from the different, I don't know, maybe they have tech equipment, or if you're into a retail or transport company, they have cars going, and there are different data coming from different sensors and trackers that were already installed on those cars, or even in farms. It's not uncommon that these days that people are setting up trackers and things that generate APIs in different places. So what you want to do is you want to be able to connect to those data. So you don't want to be the kind of person that the only data you can connect to are SQL and Excel based data. No, nobody is going to hire someone that does all that they have experience working with. And maybe now they can hire you, but in the next 2, 3 years, you will find that you will be out. You will not be the preferred candidates, because nowadays they keep putting in the job roles that they want you to have some experience with Azure, with maybe AWS. If you ask me, Azure is beginning to take a large chunk of the market now, but they want someone who has some cloud data tools experience. And now that experience is not just the fact that you know how to log into Azure or you have used Azure before, but the ability to be able to ingest data, the kind of things that data engineers do, setting up data pipelines. You might not be the one that will set it up, but they want you to have some awareness of that. They don't want a case where you are completely a newbie about that. You don't understand how it works. They'll feel more comfortable hiring someone who has some experience with, okay, uh, uh, data warehouse, data lakes, data pipelines. And the funny thing is, when you join the company, you might never be managing one, but they just want to feel comfortable that you understand how it works and you can converse meaningfully with the data engineers. So back to here, I was mentioning that we might not need to focus on data machine learning, because that's the domain now of data scientists. So data scientists are now those who need to focus on the actual predictive learning, forecasting, and all those actual building models that are ML based. So if you decide not to further in that knowledge domain, you won't, I don't think you will suffer any issue with your career, if you are focused on BI and data engineering. But if you have some interest, or if you're into consulting, then yes, there might be projects where they need some prediction, and your ability to, say you've done it before, show some comfort in using ML can be nice. And the good thing is, nowadays, you don't need to build codes from scratch. You don't need to build all these things from scratch. You can leverage drag and drop, but you need to understand the principles so that you set the parameters correctly. So that's what I would say about that. This was the part one of the data validation that Crispo did for us. And I think Ibrahim to the either I did two, or we just mistakenly have two programs for him. I can't remember which was the case. Then Faraz joined us all the way from Saudi Arabia. It took us some Power Automate. So he's been using Power Automate intensely with Excel, and he's been using more of the web one. Okay. He's telling me to re-authenticate. He's been using more of the web one, and I've seen the amazing things he's been doing with it. So he showed us how It uses it to set up forms, collect data from people and automatically reply them, and you reply the people, you take action that normally someone we need to take, so he took us through how we used data power automate. Sorry that my daughter is making noise in the background. I'm doing babysitting today. So I'm going to go back here. Then before that, we had Ibrahim also take us on insights, uh, how you communicate your insights from your report in a powerful way. Then Olamide from Wema is head of data and analytics at Wema Bank, took us through, what employers look for. So when they are building their own data analytics team, what are the skills they are looking for? Some of us used to think that, they are looking for just hard skills. The fact that you can do this, you have this on your CV, or these many certifications and all. So he was mentioning that that's just one part of it. That's not, the only thing they look for. And in some cases, that can even be, you might have that and someone might have less than those technical things, and they will still pick the person who has less, because there are some other things they are looking for. They are looking for domain knowledge, they are looking for your ability to learn, they are looking for your ability to translate business needs, so that you're not just building things, but they are solving business needs, ability to also um think creatively. So you mentioned a lot of things that were really great, that I think, if you're someone who has always wondered what companies are looking for when they are hiring or building out their data analytics team, you might want to watch that section. So Temidayo took us on data pipeline, Azure pipeline. Then I think we had Christmas and all before that. So I'm going to stop here. Temina also took us on data bricks. But I want to ask if you have any questions, because I'm sure by now you've gotten the whole concept of what it is that I'm bringing us up to speed on. That these are a whole lot we've done before now, and you can always watch the sessions. You can catch up on what you missed. Any question from anyone? Okay, Oladimeji asked me about, can I share the link to RPA? I'm going to share the one for Microsoft. So the Power Automate is the is the official answer from Microsoft to RPA. So when we're talking about RPA within the Microsoft domain, it's Power Automate and also Logic Apps. So let me share Logic Apps. But I'm guessing they might want to collapse the two, Azure Logic Apps. So those are the two products from Microsoft that relates to RPA and Azure Logic Apps. Any questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Okay. So if no other questions, I'll tell you, maybe I'll just try to show something interesting in the next say 7 minutes. Okay. And well, I'll try to keep it to Excel. If I launch Excel, this is my Excel, right? Are you noticing that my menu is kind of different? Let's see if I can zoom. Does it zoom? Okay, good. It zooms also. Do you notice that I have the typical home, insert? Some of you might not have draw. I will show you how to do that. Page layout, you will all have. Formulas, you will have. Data, you will have. Review, you will have. View, you will have. For some of you, after view, you will have help, and that will be the end. So I have automate, I have developer, I have some things that are showing up here as add-ins. I have data streamer, I have inquire. This one is because I have Acrobat installed. I have Power Pivot, I have OpenAI. I have Script Lab, which is, like I told you, is what helps you to quickly get up to speed with Office Script. I have some other things. Let me stop just reading them out. I have some other, this is Python related, this Excel Wings, X Wings, Excel Wings, yes. So how did I have most of all these things? If you go to File and you go to Options and you go to Customize Ribbon, now you won't have everything I have, but you will have draw if you're on 2019 and above Excel version. You will have draw. Most times it's disabled, so you enable it. Everybody will have developer. So it's again usually disabled, you enable it. So I'm sure of those two. Now you might have inquire or not. That I'm not sure of. But you see, every other thing are based on what I have installed on my computer. Okay, so for Power Automate and Inquire, if you go to add-ins and you go to this manage, you choose come add-ins, you click go. You will see that some are here. It's from here you enable some. Inquire is from here. Power Pivot also too is from here that you enable it. So I just want you to be aware that you can always enable more some tools that come with your Excel more than the default that are enabled, and make use of them. So as for the ones that you will not see, it's now based on your interest. If you're interested in learning, in trying out Python within Excel, then I'll tell you to check out Excel Wings. It's open source. I use it. If you go online and you type Excel Wings, they are so far right now, they are the most advanced Python tool within Excel. So I'm going to share it. Python. Then which other one do I have enabled in mind that might be useful for you to know where to get it? Office script is something that has to be enabled from your tenant, I think. So it's an organization-wide thing. Automate is linked to when you install the Power Automate. So once you install the Power Automate I was showing us, this one, it automatically installs this Excel add-in. And then is there any one more? I think there's one more. OpenAI. Let me just be sure it's the same one. Okay, no, it's not the same one. This one is from my trading account. There's one more that I know is valuable. Is it data streamer? Yeah, it's data streamer. Yes. So I think it's also by Microsoft. So they have this project that they used to run in school, universities, and for it's a big thing that if you want to make you want to except for technology, I think that's the word to call it. So you're able to connect maybe your barcode scanner, and as you're scanning devices, it's simply just it enters into Excel directly. You don't have to go and pay for some expensive software to read all those scanning tools. So this is that one. So it's more like Excel. It's more like the engineering device, like, hope you get it. The fact that you're able to connect physical devices directly to Excel. Yeah, that's what this data streamer is for. So it's another useful thing. The OpenAI, so I use Saxo Bank. Saxo Bank is a stock is a is a is a stocks broker. Yeah. So this is their own tool. I've even closed my account, so I'm going to probably uninstall this. So as you can see, Saxo Bank. So if I want to programmatically bring in data from, do my stocks management and all of that in Excel, that's what it is for. But I don't use it, and it's not even important. So these are the important ones. Okay, so thank you very, very much. I have come to the end of today's session. Any questions, or we can close it here now? Any questions from anyone? Okay, so if no questions, thank you for joining. And I hope you got some value. I hope you're able to come across, identify sessions that you think you will go watch and, catch up on things you missed. And more importantly, keep abreast. Keeping abreast is what I think is more important. You might not know everything, but, you being aware of something and not knowing it, it's better than when you are somewhere in a meeting and they are mentioning things and you are just completely lost. You've not heard of them before. That doesn't look good at all. As a consultant, that's the thing we hate, we avoid the most. That's why you see consultants go for conferences and all. Not because they can understand all those things. It's just because you don't want to be looking lost in any technical audience. You want to be able to say, I've heard of it. I don't know everything about it. I've heard about it. That's good enough. They know that you can't be an expert in everything, but that I've not heard of it at all. Oh, and it's something that is important in your field, then that is really bad. So just always keep being aware. Our field is becoming more difficult to keep abreast of everything, but just be aware, make sure that whatever is important, you've heard of it, and somehow later in future, if it becomes super important, you can now go to add it to your skill set. But don't be such that you are not even aware of all those important things. I'm going to close the session now. Thank you very much for joining. See you again next week. Hopefully next week it will not be me. I think we have someone. Actually today we had someone. The person just didn't show up. But I'm hoping this person will show up. So he's going to take us on cell references and named ranges. So thank you very, very much and have a wonderful week ahead. Bye.